Phoebe and Arnold drove their police car back to the huge cabin as they got on Jasmine and Heartland as they cantered to the crossroads. "Where's that key that Adrian said he left?" Arnold asked as Phoebe jumped off of Jasmine and looked around. "I don't see a key." "Damn it. That Adrian lied to us on where the key is. Miss Frizzle was right about him. He is not a nice man that we have to warn our class about it, and he is surely not one to be trusted," Phoebe said as Arnold called for their friends and told them to meet Phoebe and Arnold back at the front of the abandoned apartment building. As the police officers walked until they found Adrian's cabin. "How do we get in?" Arnold asked. "Maybe I could break a window or something," Phoebe said as a low growl was heard. "I think we're being followed." "What is it, Arnold?" Phoebe asked. Of course, Heartland and Jasmine's ears pricked up forward to this sound. "I don't know. Maybe it's a bear?" The growl was heard again. "Maybe a wolf?" Phoebe was getting nervous along with the horses, and Arnold took a moment to realize for Phoebe to know what it was. "Sorry, Arnold, that was me. The noise was from my tummy, scaring us." Phoebe dismounted her horse and picked up a rock and tried to break through the window, unable to unlock the window, but of course, she decided to throw a rock again, and she was able to break through the window and unlock the window to get in the house to open the door. Arnold and Phoebe tied their horses up near the front of the door, so their horses would not get away until they finished exploring the cabin. "Hello," Arnold called. "Anyone home?" added Phoebe as they went upstairs to find a microwave with a combination lock. "What combination should we try?" Arnold asked. "At my old school, we were psychic when it comes to combination numbers. Let's see. 9510. Then with the combination locked open to feel a tape with put a recording in machines. This might tell us what's going on in Silent Hill." Phoebe and Arnold nodded. "Of course. Let's go see if there's something to eat around here," Arnold said. "I'm starving," Phoebe replied. As they both went into another room, they found a Silent Hill brochure. "This has something to tell about Silent Hill," Arnold said. Then Phoebe noticed what seemed to be like someone wrote it down and typed, "Hey, this is handwritten," Phoebe said. "So it looks like Adrian wrote it." Phoebe and Arnold went to another room to see a mother holding her baby, and they were dead. "What happened? It looks like a mother was strangled to death while holding her baby," Arnold said as they took the corpses and they buried them outside of Adrian's cabin. They walked back in the cabin to find a cassette player in the kitchen. Phoebe looked to see that there was a chocolate cheesecake in the fridge. "Hey, it's a cheesecake, Arnold! Look how good it is!" "Hey, Phoebe, if we're going to have some, you better save some for your boyfriend," Arnold said. "How about you have half the cheesecake while I have the other half?" Phoebe and Arnold split the cheesecake as they began to eat on the cheesecake. "I wonder what this cassette tape has to do what was going on," Phoebe asked. "I'm not sure, but I have a bad feeling it cannot be good," Arnold said as Phoebe put the cassette player in the cassette player and rewind the tape. "Phoebe, I don't think this is any good," Arnold said as Phoebe turned on the cassette player to play when it was finished rewinding. "Adrian, I need to talk to you," said a female voice. "I'm in the middle of something. Later," Adrian replied. "No, Adrian, this is important." "I don't have time for your crap, Kelly. I'm working," Adrian roared back. "I want a divorce," Kelly said. "What?" "A divorce, Adrian," replied Kelly. Adrian was then cut off by Kelly. "No, you're not going to make me change my mind. I'm done with the lies, the endless fights, all of it. I'm done with you. It's over. I don't love you anymore," Kelly said as Adrian was in a rage of anger. "You little tramp!" He shouted. "No!" Kelly shouted as cries of Kelly and cries of the newborn baby ended the cassette player. "I don't believe this, Arnold." Phoebe was in shock. "Adrian killed his family? Miss Frizzle was right about him. We should have listened to Miss Frizzle," Arnold said as Phoebe grew angry. "That psycho. He'll pay for this," Phoebe growled as Joanna, who saw everything from the window, went back to the apartment room 304 to plan an attack from Miss Frizzle's class from 12 years ago. Phoebe and Arnold walked back out of Adrian's cabin and walked to the apartment building to the bus. Of course, Phoebe and Arnold parked Heartland and Jasmine as they went inside the apartment building to find Miss Frizzle and everyone else outside of room 304. Arnold went in and opened the door, and Adrian and Joanna grabbed Arnold as Joanna held Arnold down to the floor. "I will have you in death." Arnold, of course, Adrian shouted as Phoebe began to cry. "Please, Adrian, I beg you not to kill Arnold," Phoebe said as she sobbed. "Why should I?" "I love him, Adrian," Phoebe shouted. "You lied to me and Arnold about fighting and killing your son, and it turns out they're dead." Arnold looked up and saw tears rolling down Phoebe's cheeks. "I love you, Phoebe, more than life itself." "Joanna, let's kill him," Adrian said. "With pleasure." Joanna grabbed a knife as she slowly walked towards Arnold as Phoebe cried in Miss Frizzle's dress, as Dorothy Ann grabbed Adrian and had a knife near his neck. "Stop it, Joanna, stop," he said as he felt Wanda choking him. "Let Arnold go, Adrian, or you and Joanna are going to get in big trouble." "Let Arnold go, Adrian." Joanna. "What? Adrian, what the hell? I was about to have fun, and now you want me to let him go?" Joanna asked. Don't give a crap, Joanna. Just let Arnold go," Adrian said as Wanda choked Adrian more. As Joanna let Aunt Arnold go, and Wanda stopped choking him, and Phoebe ran towards Arnold. "I will never leave without you, Phoebe, Therese. I could never live without you, Arnold Pearlstein." Phoebe pulled Arnold into a hug as Joanna pulled Dorothy Ann away from Adrian. The fight was on, and Adrian was cornered by Phoebe, who had a taser gun. No, Phoebe, don't hurt me. I don't want to be in this with a female cop." Adrian was about to get away when Joanna saw Miss Frizzle going to the bus. "Is it just me, or is this a fight against the bad guys and good guys?" Ralphie asked. "It's a battle, dumbass," replied Keisha as Adrian looked to see Miss Frizzle get on the bus. "Joanna, stop that teacher," he shouted as Wanda shoved Joanna into room 301, and the class ran towards the bus. Arnold and Phoebe got on their horses as they galloped away. Carlos, who was the last one on the bus, saw Adrian. "Hey, Adrian! You are the a-hole of Silent Hill!" "Carlos!" everyone said as Dorothy Ann pulled Carlos into the bus. "Now, Carlos, let's get out of here," Dorothy Ann said as Miss Frizzle said, "Bus, let's get out of here!" "Wahoo!" Miss Frizzle said as they drove the bus out of the town of Silent Hill. Adrian went back into the apartment building. "Joanna, you are not around much, but I really need you," Adrian shouted as he heard Joanna crying from upstairs. Adrian went back upstairs to open the room 301 to find Joanna. "Oh, there you are, Adrian. I was in the school when I heard voices, and it is Arnold and Phoebe. They're tough and strong police officers," Joanna said. "Police officers? On a magic school bus?" Adrian asked as then he screamed in anger and grabbed Joanna and tied her to a chair. "Get out of that, Joanna, if you can." Meanwhile, in the woods, on their way back to the huge cabin, Arnold and Phoebe were riding their horses in the sunset. They were walking their horses back to the cabin, and they knew Miss Frizzle and the rest of the class from 12 years ago had already beat them to them. They took the longer way to the huge cabin, as they were safe from Adrian for now. And, of course, Arnold and Phoebe were in love. When they got back to the huge cabin, they untacked their horses and put them away as they both walked inside the huge cabin. "Arnold, I love you. This moment I wish it would never end." Phoebe sat down with the couch with Arnold in his arms. "Now there's nowhere else I want to be with but beside you, with me." Arnold pulled Phoebe closer as they closed their eyes and kissed. The kiss lasted a minute until they were in a loving moment. Phoebe was about to take off her police uniform when Carlos shouted, "Surprise! Long live Arnold Pearlstein!" Everyone from Miss Frizzle's class showed up. "And long live Phoebe Therese," said Wanda. "And down with that Adrian Woodfield," said Tim. Of course, Miss Frizzle and the gang were singing a really silly song regarding about Adrian Woodfield being not very nice. Carlos made a pun at that caused the class to go, "Carlos!" But of course, when Ralphie had an idea, saying, "Oh, Phoebe will grab his underwear and probably tie him to a tree. Cool," Ralphie said. "Ralphie!" everyone said as they were really laughing at this moment. Meanwhile, in the town of Silent Hill, Joanna was singing on her way back to room 304. She was humming the song. As she entered the room, Adrian heard humming. "What were you singing?" he asked. "Miss Frizzle's class were singing a song about you, Adrian. They were calling you the phony a-hole of Silent Hill." Adrian walked up to Joanna. "They are they? Well, I better capture all the students and we'll let Phoebe and Arnold Parlstein and Therese find them. The two officers who we do not capture," Adrian said, as he choked Joanna, "will capture Miss Frizzle as well," Adrian said as Joanna stopped choking and she coughed a bit. "That will be a great idea. And then I'll be at the school in case that Phoebe and Arnold decide to go there and think the students or Miss Frizzle are trapped in there." Joanna laughed. When the nighttime falls, Joanna and Adrian capture Miss Frizzle and the students, except for Arnold and Phoebe in the middle of the night. The students and Miss Frizzle were locked inside the motel that is down the road where the abandoned apartment building is. The next morning, Phoebe and Arnold woke up to realize that Miss Frizzle and the other students were gone. "Miss Frizzle, is anyone there?" Phoebe shouted, but there was no reply. "A note! Maybe this will tell us," Arnold said as he and Phoebe got to read the note, and after they read the note, they were shocked. "Adrian is going to kill Miss Frizzle in 3 days?" Phoebe was shocked. "We should go get Miss Frizzle and the other students free," Arnold said. "We cannot let Adrian or Joanna kill Miss Frizzle." "Jailbreak is only one way, Arnold," Phoebe said. "There's no way." "Oh, maybe I should have stayed home today," Arnold replied. "We have to do this, Arnold, or Miss Frizzle and the other students die in 3 days." Phoebe and Arnold tack up their horses as they saw Liz on the bus. "Liz?" Phoebe asked as she opened the bus door. "Are you okay?" Liz looked up and nodded at Phoebe. "Liz, you gotta help me and Arnold. Miss Frizzle and her friends have been taken away by Adrian Woodfield and Joanna. Will you help us?" Liz nodded as she got the school bus going. "We'll meet you at the motel that is not far from the abandoned apartment building." Phoebe and Arnold was able to get to the apartment buildings where Phoebe saw a set of keys on the key ring. "What's this?" Phoebe asked Arnold as it looked to be one of those for the motel. Phoebe found one of the keys that opens the motel. As they rode their horses up to the motel, they could see Miss Frizzle waking up to see Phoebe and Arnold entering there. "Phoebe, Arnold," Miss Frizzle was so happy when the two police officers freed their teacher. "It's okay, Miss Frizzle. Liz is here with the bus. Thank God you both came here to free me and the class. We were thinking no one will ever come to save us." Arnold freed his friends. "Now, Miss Frizzle, I think there's a few things we need to take care of. Me and Phoebe will take on Liz would take Liz on the bus and get you guys weapons and other things you might need," Arnold said as Phoebe and him left the motel on their horses, following Liz, who was driving the magic school bus. They went to the school where Phoebe and Arnold were there earlier. The two officers got off their horses and went inside the school. "Let me make sure no one's in here." Arnold looked in the bathroom. It was quiet, with Joanna, who was hiding in one of the stalls, sleeping. Arnold left the bathroom without making a sound. "At my old school, we never went inside abandoned places. There has to be some weapons around here." Phoebe then saw a stairway leading to the upper part of the school. "Arnold, there might be something upstairs. I think we should look there." Phoebe and Arnold went upstairs, but there was no sound of them being made. Of course, they walked to a classroom that was locked. Phoebe opened the door by having the right key to fit in the door. Then Phoebe was surprised. "Wow, Arnold, look at this! There's a bunch of crates of supplies. But why are all the crates here?" asked Arnold as he and Phoebe looked around. "There's food crates, medical supplies, weapons, ammo, even packs of water bottles," Phoebe said. "There's even clothes here too, Phoebe. We need to get this stuff back to how are we going to get it back to Miss Frizzle?" he asked. Then Phoebe had an idea. She went to the window and took Liz, who had the bus down to the crates by the motel near the bus and near the window. "That's a great idea, Phoebe. With the bus, they can get all the crates back to the motel in one trip," Miss Frizzle said as Arnold and Phoebe loaded the bus with crates until there was nothing left to load the bus. Adrian must have hid all this stuff because he didn't want anyone to know where the supplies went. "Well, Arnold, that's the very last thing of everything. Liz, take the bus along with the crates back to the motel," Phoebe said as Liz got the bus to drive up to the motel. Arnold walked out of the school, and Phoebe heard something coming from the bathroom. She walked inside the bathroom to hear crying. Joanna was hiding in the stall, was pretending to cry. Of course, stopped when Phoebe grabbed the bag of snacks. Joanna knew it was time for her to do something and not letting Phoebe get away. Phoebe went out of the bathroom to make sure there was no one else in the other rooms. Where Joanna walked out of the stall from the washroom she was hiding, and she heard footsteps running past the bathroom as Joanna peeked her head out of the bathroom to see that Phoebe was coming out of the school. She walked to the front to see Phoebe on Jasmine cantering up to catch up with Arnold on Heartland. Joanna followed Phoebe and Arnold without being noticed. "What took you so long, Phoebe?" asked Arnold. "I'm sorry, Arnold, but I had to make sure the school was clear from these creatures before I was about to leave. Luckily there was no one there," Phoebe said, as Jasmine began to look around. "What's up, Jazzy?" asked Phoebe. "I think she's nervous, Arnold, but I don't see anything or anyone." Meanwhile, back in the motel, where Liz and the upper bus brought back supplies, Miss Frizzle and her class opened the crates with weapons. "So, class, when Phoebe and Arnold get back here, we're going inside room 304, and Arnold and Phoebe can arrest him and Joanna. If Joanna dies, then it'll be just Adrian to take care of." The class got their weapons and walked in the apartment building, where Adrian was waiting for Phoebe and Arnold to get back for when they attack. Phoebe and Arnold were getting so close to the apartment where Adrian is when Joanna threw a stick that spooked Jasmine. She went a fast canter as Phoebe tried to slow her down. "What's going on, Phoebe?" Arnold asked. "I don't know, but Jazzy is freaking out." Jasmine got to a fence that said dead end, and that's when she threw Phoebe off. Phoebe flew over Jasmine and fell on her back while holding the reins. As Arnold got off his horse to check on Jasmine and Phoebe. "You okay, Jasmine?" "Phoebe, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay, Arnold, but my back hurts." Phoebe got up and hopped over the fence to see Joanna. "It's that girl I heard crying. Arnold, let's get back to Miss Frizzle's class quick." Phoebe and Arnold jumped on their horses and ran towards the apartment building. Joanna was following her and Arnold. Jasmine was freaking out as she got up and threw me off as turned around to see Joanna, Phoebe said as she and Arnold jumped off their horses. "We could take the horses to tie them up. You guys go after Adrian," Tim said as he and Keisha took Heartland and Jasmine from Arnold. "Adrian, they're coming," Joanna said as Phoebe and Arnold showed up at the door to room 304. "You're alive, but how?" Adrian asked. "Shut your mouth, Adrian, and you and your lady friend are done for." Arnold threw a Molotov, and that's when flames started to spread around room 304. Arnold and Phoebe were making their escape when Phoebe was grabbed on by Joanna. "Arnold!" Phoebe shouted as Arnold looked back to see the fire was spreading all over the apartment building. "Phoebe's still in there," Wanda said. "Come on, Phoebe, you can make it out of there," Arnold said as Phoebe got out of the burning apartment and she collapsed. "Phoebe, you gotta get up. Please, get up." Dorothy Ann tried to get her up. Tears were rolling down her cheek. "We won, Joanna. The good guys lose and we win," Adrian said as Arnold began to cry. "I love you, Phoebe. I can't believe you're gone." He then felt a warm hand on his chest. He stopped crying to see that Phoebe was alive. She coughed as she was gasping for air. "Phoebe?" "Arnold, I'm alive. You thought I was dead?" Phoebe asked as she stood up. "You had us all worried, Phoebe. We thought you were long gone," Miss Frizzle said. "We called your dad, Phoebe, who was a cop till retirement, but he works as a part-time cop now. He is on his way here." The class cheered as they have won the final battle. Adrian and Joanna were not so pleased. "It's so not fair. Why do the good guys always win?" Adrian asked. "As you, Adrian, have something to say," Ralphie said. "And if you have a new name," added Wanda, "you're the phony a-hole of Silent Hill." Miss Frizzle and her class cheered as they began to laugh. "No, no, no, no. It's so not fair. I tried to warn you that something was going on, but no, 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 Adrian Woodfield, you wouldn't listen. Your plans are crappy, and they never work. Especially on Miss Frizzle and her class from 12 years ago. And now look what you did. You have burned down your mother's apartment building," Joanna said as Adrian screamed as he should have stopped the police officers from starting a fire in the apartment building, but he did not. "Mommy!" Adrian sucked on his thumb and grabbed a wooden plank and started to hit Joanna. When she knocked the plank over, "You ain't hitting me today, a-hole. You are getting hit by me." Joanna picked up the wooden plank and started to hit Adrian as she chased him around Miss Frizzle and her class. She began to run towards the school. "We should go after him," Arnold asked. "We should." Phoebe got on the school bus. "Arnold, take the bus and let's go catch these two." Phoebe got on her horse and Jasmine to canter towards Adrian and Joanna as Arnold started the magic school bus and drove up to catch up to Phoebe. Adrian was trying to get back in the school, but Joanna cornered him. You have nowhere to run now, Adrian, so prepare for your worst nightmare. Phoebe grabbed the shotgun, which had one shot left. As she was on Jazz and she was carefully walked towards Joanna and Adrian, as Joanna was shot behind her back by Phoebe as Joanna fell backwards. No, you tramp, Adrian said. How could you do this to Joanna? Jail time is for you, Adrian. However, you like it or not, and if you dare anyone come near me, Arnold, my friends, or my teacher, or my family again, you will face your worst nightmare. Me. So you're under arrest, Phoebe said as Adrian tried to get away, but bumped into a blind man, which is Mr. Therese. He was Phoebe's father. You're coming with us, Adrian. You do not ever hurt my daughter again. Phoebe got off of Jasmine as Arnold made it to the school bus with the magic school bus, followed by the rest of Miss Frizzle's class. Phoebe and Arnold put Adrian in handcuffs and put him in their dad's police car. You won't get away with this, Phoebe. I will get you and Arnold. Not unless you want to get shot by this female police officer with a strong body to kill you with, Phoebe said. Let's take him to jail, Daddy. Arnold took up on the police car. I say we shut down Silent Hill for good. Everyone cheered as Phoebe smiled. Phoebe Therese, after the Silent Hill crisis, I have loved you for as long as I can remember. We have met each other since we were both 8 years old, and we knew each other for 12 years, and there's something I have to say. Phoebe Therese, will you marry me? Arnold asked. Arnold, I could not be any more happier than this. Of course I'll marry you, and we'll shut down Silent Hill together. Phoebe smiled. All right, class, let's shut down Silent Hill and let's go home, Miss Frizzle said. After a year since Silent Hill was closed for good, Adrian was in jail from 10 years to life in prison. Joanna was burned so she does not come back from the dead. Everyone, including Miss Frizzle, was at the wedding of Phoebe Therese and Arnold Parlstein, which Phoebe was now officer for Phoebe Parlstein. Of course, Heartland was now a police horse with Jasmine to help those in need. On their way to their honeymoon, Phoebe and Arnold stopped at the police station to see Adrian Woodfield in his cell. You're both married? I don't believe it. Why didn't you take me to your wedding? Phoebe pointed a gun at Adrian. You were never invited. Only good people get to go to weddings, Phoebe said as she kissed Arnold as they both left the police station. And that is how the story ends with the two police officers.